Okay, obviously he named his dog the Swinford Bandog. But Carl Siminsek is an author of several books. He wrote a book called Gladiator Dogs, and he wrote a book called Pit Bulls and Other Tenacious Guard Dogs, which is a little bit ironic because a pit bull is not really a guard dog, but they can be, but they're not bred to be. Um, and they can be really good ones. But anyway, in that book, Carl Siminsek didn't really represent the band dog as well as he should have. There was a little bit of ambiguity in there, a little lack of clarity in there. He talked about it being 50% American Pit Bull Terrier and 50% basically being some sort of Mastiff. I forget he talked about like freight train or something like that. It was like 50% pit bull, 50%. I don't remember what he did, but he talked about it being mastiff. Then he also talked about some crosses being Neapolitan mastiff, being a major component in band dogs, and that misled a lot of people because those articles there, um, people thought that's what John Swinford did, and that's not what John Swinford did. John Swinford pretty much stuck with the pit bull and English mastiff for his component. He Martin Lieberman did bring in some Neapolitan, and Martin Lieberman did bring in some Tosa Inu even later on. And those are the same breeds that we used was American Pit Bull Terrier, Neapolitan Mastiff, English Mastiff, and Tosa Inu. But the main parts of our program was American Pit Bull Terrier is basically more than 50% of our program. So we have like Slam is 80.5% uh, American Pit Bull Terrier. The only dogs that I have that are less than 50% Pit Bull Terrier are going to be like the Justice, the Tiggy, the Blue Jean. Uh, those those dogs would have been higher on the Mastiff component, but we took those dogs and bred them back to Pit Bulls to get the Pit Bull percentage up. But we also used. Let me cancel that. So let me turn that ringer off so that doesn't happen again. Sorry about that. The But we imported a Tosa, and we imported not imported. We imported a Tosa, and we used a little bit of Neapolitan. But the Mastiff that really put us on the map was Eclipse. She was an English Mastiff, and without her, we would not be where we are. That was even though we're mostly American Pit Bull Terrier, game bred American Pit Bull Terrier. Eclipse is what has led to our success because
That's Man's mom,
that
right?
pardon?
That's Preacher Man's mom, right?
Correct. Preacher
Okay.
Man and Bandit, Thin Ice and Gator and Blade. They
Mm.
were out of that kennel. At that time, I was working with a friend of mine named Prentice Wallace. He was a real good decoy, just a tremendous athlete. Prentice Wallace is the type of guy that he could probably eat at McDonald's for a year and not go to a gym, and he takes off his shirt. He's just got a six pack and a pecs. I mean, he's just a tremendous athlete genetically, super athletic, really strong, a lot of skills, and he did some and he was willing. Boy, he was willing to do anything. If you see any of the old videos of Grit going into the pond and whatnot, uh, that was Prentice. I lost you there. It looks like Jalik. At least there's a boot on the screen. I can't see you.
I'm still
There
here.
you.
This
Okay.
Jaguar, he probably see somebody out front.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah, I just had to get.
So yeah, Prentice was a great athlete, and we bred Captain Skip to Eclipse, and I kept uh, what I felt was the pick male and pick female, and that was going to be Preacher Man and Bandit.
So
And
Captain
then
as a game bred pit bull, right?
yes, he was a pure Sorrels dog that I got from Bert Sorrels back in 2004.
Okay.
We had already had our band dog program going for a few years at that time, but I had not done the English Mastiff Pit Bull cross. So
Mm.
at that time, we had some Whopper dogs that we got, and we had some band dogs that we bought, and we had a Pit Bull that was a cross between some Red Boy blood, uh, and then we also had a Tosa Inu.
Mm.
And we had bred those together. The band dogs that like I had a band dog named Levi that came from Vince Haley at Elite Kennels. I guess it was Elite. I think that's right. And Vince Haley was Joe Lucero's old partner. And Joe Lucero, you probably heard of him. I still haven't even defined what a band dog is. We got off
You know,
topic, but sorry for derailing that. But
that's so good.
anyway, Vince Haley and Joe Lucero had a fallout, And Vince Haley had a dog named Ace, and Joe Lucero had a dog named Jaws. Jaws was an incredible animal, obviously, a well respected animal. But the bloodline in those dogs was, in my opinion, suspect. And the reason why I say it was suspect is it went back to a lot of Amstaff blood. It wasn't really game bred blood, and it was a lot of Neapolitan, which Neapolitans have a lot of hip issues.
Mm.
So back in the um, 2000 to 2004 era, I was a bit ostracized by the Bandog community because I didn't um, kneel to the Joe Lucero crowd because he was like the number one leader in the Bandog community at that time.
Mm.
And if you don't yield to your superior, somebody that was, then you're going to be ostracized on the internet. How dare you? Well, look, Joe Lucero is an accomplished trainer. He has a well-established Bandog program, and he has a following that he has earned. But there's nothing wrong with different people wanting different things. And if you felt like I don't want to use Amstaff, I want to use legit game bred American Pitbull Terrier, the true gladiator. Don't do. I'm not interested. Even though I like a dog with a muscular physique, I'm not breeding show dogs. I'm breeding working dogs. And the Neapolitan Mastiff, out of all the breedings that we've done, all of the hip issues we've had, which is like less than 5, were related to Achilles, the Neapolitan Mastiff. I have not had any hip issues that were not related to him, closely related to him. So the Neapolitan Mastiff is a concern. The stuff that we've had with the Tosa Inu, the stuff that we had with the English Mastiff, been solid, solid dogs. And so I acquired Captain Skip from Bert Sorrels, and we bred Captain Skip to Eclipse, and that produced Preacher Man, who, in my opinion, was actually the second best dog in the litter. He wasn't the best. The best dog in that litter was Bandit. That was his sister.
Oh wow.
She was an ace. I mean, just Preacher Man's solid. Don't get me wrong. He was really solid. You've seen a lot of footage of him, but Bandit was just 100%. That was when people say game bred band dogs can't exist, they didn't know Bandit. Bandit was legit. Um, so that was the apex animal in that litter. And then with Prentice Wallace being my partner, I gave him when I when I say partner, he's the one that did all the decoy work, right?
Yeah.
I was financing the stuff, but he was doing the decoy work, and I don't care who says what. Decoy work is valuable, right? So I went and got. I gave him the other male, Blade. I think that's what he named. It may have been Blaze, but I think it was Blade. And then I gave him the second pick female, which was Gator. And then I kept the third pick female, which was Thin Ice. So I had the Bandit, which was the number one dog, and then Preacher Man, the best male. Kept the best male and the best female, and then I gave my partner the second best male and the second best female, and then I kept the third best female, Thin Ice. And after I kept them all, we kept all the dogs ourselves. Didn't sell any of them. So out of the 5 dogs that were in that litter, until we didn't sell any of them until they were like 18 months old, and somewhere around 18 months or 2 years of age, I don't remember exactly. I ended up selling Thin Ice, and she went to another well-respected band dog program at the time, and he bred her to one of his band dogs, and had good success with that. But you can't keep them all the time, so we focused on Preacher Man and we focused on Bandit, and then we also used Gator a pretty good bit. Unfortunately, Blade was lost. He got sick, and
Mm.
and he didn't survive. But I don't even. He was bred. Yes, he was bred, but that's not part of our program today.
So would
Oh,
you?
so what is
Oh
so what
yeah.
is a band dog? Real quick, let me mention
Yeah.
that. So because of Carl Semensic, put a lot of misinformation out there about 50% great or 50% game bred American Pitbull Terrier and 50% freight train or whatever it was. That misled a lot of people to believing that a band dog was a mixed breed,
Mm.
and it's not. It's a job. The term band dog is like saying any other job: sled dog, hunting dog, guard dog, watchdog. A band dog is a dog that is banded. A band aid is a bandage that restrains and holds something back. A rubber band is a bandage that holds something back. The word band means to restrain or hold back. And a band dog is a dog that's restrained and held back.
Mm.
And why is it held back? It's because when it's released, it's going to catch its quarry. Now, that's the correct term, quarry. Quarry is a word though that's not known by many people. A lot of people think it's a valley like in mountains, but there's another definition for quarry, and that is it's not necessarily prey, but it's kind of like prey, and it
Mhm.
means it's target. It can be prey, it can be adversary, whatever the dog has been targeted to target or taught to target. That's its quarry. So for a band dog, it could be man or it could be beast. And I believe that a band dog, a true band dog, should have the determination to stay in combative situations, even under stress, just like a game bred American Terrier should stay in combative situations under stress.
I got you. So,
Yep.
so Lee, would you say back then was your dogs a little bit bigger? Because right now your average is like the males it's usually a little over 100, and the females, I mean, is around 85. Would you say back then the dogs was a little bigger?
Well, our dogs are not as big as what you just said. Our females tend to be anywhere from a really small female will be like 65 pounds, but that's unusual. Most of our females are going to be, I shouldn't say it's unusual, it happens. Most of our females, though, are going to be between 70 and 85. And then with the average probably being around 75 to 77, 78.
Okay.
And then our males are going to average about 10 to 15 pounds bigger than that. So our males are going to be anywhere from 80 to 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And we occasionally produce dogs bigger than 100 pounds, but that's not the norm.
Right.
Um, I'll tell you why it's not the norm. It's because I don't really want it to be the norm. A lot of band dog breeders want their dogs to be mastiff size.
Right.
Well, if that worked really, really well, then we wouldn't need the band dog because the mastiffs would be working, and they don't.
Right.
So well, there are working mastiffs. When I say they don't, I'm talking about in general, right? So I don't mean in absolute. Every mastiff that we used worked, but they were anomalies. And so even though they were anomalies, there's also something to do valued about packability. And by
Mhm.
packability, being portable. I
Right.
want a dog that's small enough that if I want it in my car, it can work.
Yeah.
So if you have a 120 pound, 130-pound
Yeah.
animal in your car, you cannot function with that dog in your car if it's working. But if you have a 90-pound dog, you can. A 90-pound dog is small. It's big. Okay, I'm talking about like let's look at Ranger right here on this picture.
Yeah.
Uh,
Rangers.
so Ranger in this picture, he's probably 86 pounds, and I could easily turn that into a 95-pound